If this country didn't have anything, they would not have bothered to call William Ruto. There must be something the Americans have seen.
So the president...
And I can... No, let it, you know, it's not because it is him.
Yeah.
It is because of what the Americans are able to extract from Kenya. You cannot take action against your foot soldiers who are in parliament, who are part of this wash. What gives him the idea that he can do as he wishes? This is not his personal house, this is not Sogoi. I think the president needs to stop being simplistic.
Is there a vacuum post-Raila?
Play one clip where Ruto has spoken truthfully.
Hello there, it's a Friday, and if it's Friday, you know it's Philip Kisia Unscripted here on Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. Conversations which I hope will help our leaders in making better policy decisions, informed political moves. Our conversation for today is about Ruto's prominence and Kenya's embarrassment. President William Ruto has been invited to White House in America for a state visit. This is the first time an African president has been invited to White House in 20 years. What does this mean about our standing internationally? Kenya has also been grey-listed, a country of wash. We'll also talk about that with Philip Kisia. He's a former Nairobi town clerk, leadership and governance expert. Kisia, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Jed.
Let me tell you, I was looking at your profile, the things you've done in this country. You are the founder trustee at Kenya Private Sector Alliance. You've also been the chairman and the former chair of NCBDA. This is Nairobi Central Business District Association. You started community policing and police reforms in this country. All these things, where do someone get, how does someone get to doing all these things and you're not from those prominent families?
Jed, you know, it's about the values that were ingrained in me by my late mother, and may the Almighty rest her soul in eternal peace, Mama Grace. She laid a very, very strong foundation for us. There are certain principles that she laid in us, the issue of hard work, integrity, honesty. And those have been my rallying principles. So knowing that I came from a disadvantaged background, being raised by a single mother, of course I had to work extra hard. I made sure that I laid my vision very early in my life. And I, for sure, love this country. And I said, if there's nothing I can do, just as a payback for having been born a Kenyan, is to work for Kenyans.
And this is what you've done.
And, you know, therefore, yeah, we, and a group of us started KEPSA, people like Dennis Awori, Donald Kipkoril, you know, Sami, Maura, a group of us, I think about 7, who started KEPSA. KEPSA will be 24 years in April this year. So when you see KEPSA today, just know that there are some young fellows at that time who had a vision for KEPSA. The issue of community policing, of course. We started community policing when I was the chairman of NCBDA, and the crime levels in Nairobi were so high, extremely high, and we had to come up with some form of intervention. And therefore, I partnered with Kenya Police to start off community policing in Kenya. It has worked. People have tried to change the names. Unfortunately, that no leader has given this thing a focus, community policing, because policing people is about allowing them to police themselves, to develop strategies to protect themselves, and so that we can have a better community to live in.
Okay. Yeah. All about hard work.
It's about hard work.
Caring for this country.
And caring for this country.
Let's talk about the excitement President William Ruto has. He's been offered a unique opportunity to go visit White House in a state visit. He's very excited. Actually, in Benny Hinn's crusade, he said Kenya is going to be greater than what you see, and it is because we believe in the living God. In 20 years, no African state has been given the opportunity to visit White House in a state visit, and this is something that the president is very excited about here. And I want to know, what does this signify, you know, for our country and his leadership when it comes to our standing globally?
Well, you know, visiting the United States of America, which is a superpower, it's is super in everything, in terms of economic power, in terms of military power. So when you're visiting US and you've been invited as a state guest, well, it's something to talk about. But from where I'm sitting, and you reminded me of this Benny Hinn, being invited by the first family to come and pray, and I was asking myself, oh my God, don't we have other people who have a dark skin myself who can pray for this country? Must we spend millions of shillings and a lot of resources and time just inviting somebody from out to come and pray for us? Then again, of course, there was this invitation from President Biden for our president to visit the United States. And again, I was actually left in shock. Because is it an achievement when you're invited to a White House? Is it really an achievement? Is it something that a head of state can talk about? It actually reminded me, thank God I was born in Nairobi, but it reminded me of, my relatives when they heard my mother was inviting them for holiday to Nairobi. They would get so excited and they would look forward to that trip. Because, Nairobi was something, coming from the village. So it reminded me of those days that my relatives from the village would get so excited. I saw William in that space, being so excited about this state visit to the US. Again, the question I asked myself, is it about African slavery, the slave mentality, or is this some form of buffoonery? Because you see, Africa and Kenya have so many challenges. So the first thing that you must ask yourself, what opportunities are being presented by this trip? How is this trip going to help my people? But instead, you're just reminding us of slavery, that I've been summoned by the big boy. I've been actually summoned, and I'm going to run. I'm running so fast. In fact, I started preparing. I started even preparing for the trip. I think that was absurd. It's typical of African bad behavior, that you can be summoned. On one hand, you're saying that we shall no longer be summoned by these fellows in the West. We'll not go running. But here is the man running so fast, faster than that guy is called Kipchoge, running so fast. Why is the double speak? It's awkward, but that is typical of African behavior. So it clearly, for me, demonstrated that William Ruto, who is my very good friend, is actually a slave of the West, particularly the US. But
don't you think it
is
also
just a slave?
Shows our level internationally? Because
what level?
He says in two decades.
Just a few months ago, he was at the Silicon Valley. What did he achieve? Those are the things that we must be questioning our president. Not just a simple invitation. You're being invited by somebody who is facing an election. Somebody is facing an election in a few months. Somebody who chances of surviving are 50-50. It's a risk he has taken. There's no excitement. Supposing this man doesn't come back, Trump will really Trump on you.
Let's talk about then the upcoming state visit, and we want to know what is the significance first. Let's talk about the significance. What's the significance of President William Ruto going there for our country?
Of course, I said it's a risk, a geopolitical risk, because right now, of course, as things stand, it's 50-50. We don't know whether President Biden will come back, because if Trump comes back, he will deal with this man squarely, and we may just end up being collateral damage. But you see, because of course, if Biden comes in, he will come up with new policies, both domestic and foreign. But it is significant in the sense that there are so many benefits to be accrued from the visit. Okay? Economic investment, and so on and so forth. But for me, for him, I would take this thing on a two-prong. Number one, there are those side meetings, meeting people key industry players in the private sector who can assist us in actually shaping our economy, yeah, and helping his agenda his better agenda, bottom-up agenda. I don't know, see bottom-up or bottom up,
bottom-up,
up bottom. I don't know whether it has changed, but it can help his agenda. So if I was the one on advising him, I'll tell him to carefully select these side meetings and to take them more seriously, and to ensure that the people who are accompanying him will only add value, that they are arranging those meetings, side meetings, which are back office. Okay? The other thing that he could also do is to make sure that, you know, there are certain people, there are some, if Biden loses in November, by January, there are thousands of guys that William Ruto is going to meet in May who will be out of jobs. That's how it happens in the US. But there are those caliber of technocrats who nothing changes, whether it's Biden, whether it's Trump who comes in. So there must be a deliberate effort by William Ruto's team to meet those people.
The ones that will not.
The ones who may not shift, the ones who may not leave office because there have been a change in guard. So those people, they should take, you know, they should be taken more seriously and engaged in a more serious manner, because they are the ones who still will formulate policy, even in event that President Biden loses. Yeah. So yes, it's good for photo ops. Yeah. It's good to have the First Lady of Kenya, First Lady of the US, and Biden and my friend William but take it more seriously. You know, it's good for you for the international image that you've met, that you're the first African sitting president in 2 decades to meet the head of state of the most powerful nation in the world. Yeah. It's good. It goes into history, but how does it benefit Kenyans? I think that is the biggest question.
Do you think,
how will it benefit the people of Kenya?
Do you think from history we've seen them going, actually we saw President Kenyatta with a photo with Donald Trump. From history, is there any direct economic you know, impact on our economy?
You see, that's why I said the side meetings,
those are the ones.
Private sector and the technocrats. Forget about who is on the top. It's not like here, okay? Of course, there may be a policy shift, but focus should not be on, you know, the celebration should not be about meeting Biden, but the outcome of the meeting between the two gentlemen. You see, when you are summoned, like he has been summoned by the most powerful, he has no choice. That's why he's celebrating. Oh. Does he have a choice? He has no choice. That's why Jade is celebrating. You know, it's like a small little baby have been called by the king. I mean, you'll go running. So, you know, when you are summoned by this type of leader, first of all, Americans think of America first. They don't think of Africa. They don't care whether people in Africa sleep hungry. They don't care whether people in Africa have poor health. They are after something they have seen that this country has. Okay? If this country didn't have anything, they would not have bothered to call William Ruto. There must be something the Americans have seen.
So the president...
And I can... No, you know, it's not because it is him. Yeah. It is because of what the Americans are able to extract from Kenya. And there's a lot. Number one, what can they get from this country? Minerals, because that's what America and the West do. The extraction of our mineral resources, you know, getting them out of the... And then the other thing they do is to make sure that you can never move, okay? So they will be looking for business opportunities. What can we do? What can we do in Kenya? What, as a president of America, what business opportunities can I create for the people of America, for companies from America in Kenya? That's what Biden is after. And then, of course, because if, I mean, I doubt whether, because even he has no powers, President Biden, I doubt whether President Biden will say, okay, we know China is your greatest lending partner. we are going to underwrite those loans. Nothing will come out. So he'll go to America. America will get what they're looking for, but we'll still be left with the loans, the Chinese loans. In fact, I would have thought that a summon by the president of China would have presented a better opportunity for Kenya, because maybe some of the loans would have been written off.
Yeah.
What loans are we going to write off in America? What loans are we writing off? There's nothing.
So we'll have to wait for Ruto to go and see the
Let us wait.
they will give.
He was there in the Silicon Valley. I think it's about 6 months ago or something. Where are the results? Other than the few jobs saying that, oh, Google, I don't know who has given us jobs. The jobs that they only exist on a rooftop of a motor vehicle. Those jobs don't exist.
Let's talk. We've talked about that. What seems like it's about our international standing. It seems like we're doing well on that side, but we are also embarrassed from the Finance Action Task Force, which grey-listed Kenya as a country of wash, actually saying that among other 23 countries, Kenya, safeguards need to be placed in Kenya because of the flow of dirty cash. You look at this grey-listing, Kisia, how significant is it for our economy and the financial sector here in Kenya?
You know, something fundamental happened. As Kenya was being grey-listed, Uganda was being removed from the list.
Yeah.
And you know, this happened a few weeks ago.
Yes.
Uganda was removed.
Yeah.
And now my boss, my party boss, Raila, and his newfound friend, William Ruto, get into a flight to go and meet a guy who's been cleaned by the international institution. Yeah. And Kenya is put. You know, I would have expected that even from that trip, apart from talk about this G2G deal, we don't know the details, and talk about the AU position for Raila, they should have asked Museveni, what steps did you take? What steps did you take to have Uganda lifted from this, grey list? Yeah, they called it Financial Action Task Force. What action did you? You see, the only things that can happen if your legal and regulatory framework is poor or it has been ignored, then you create an avenue for this
dirty money,
this arrangement to thrive. Yeah. Okay, because it's not just about dirty money. Dirty money is one of the outcomes of having a weak and poor regulatory framework and laws that are ignored. Because we have the laws that were forced on us by President Obama. Yeah. They were forced on us. We may not have liked them, but we were told, for you to continue getting support from America, military support, intelligence support, you must take this, because see, there, other than the dirty money that finds itself in an economy. That's why you see there are too many car bazaars coming up, too many supermarkets coming up, because it's a way of cleaning the dirty cash.
Restaurants,
it's a way of cleaning that dirty cash. Okay? Terrorism is an outcome of weak and poor regulatory framework. And you know what terrorism does to any destination. Kenya relies on tourism. Immediately you have a terrorist attack here, our tourism goes. And you know, we are very poor at reviving our tourism inflows because we don't spend anything. So if we have a terrorist attack, you can imagine the billions of shillings we lose for lack of tourism, but even the image of the country. Then the issue of arms. Arms find themselves in our country. Those arms then get into hands of bandits, who again now start causing insecurity in most parts of this country. So, I mean, in fact, I'm hoping that in one of his on his agenda, that as Biden is asking for whatever he's asking for his ask, one of the asks that Ruto will have is helping in getting, strengthening our legal and regulatory regulations so that we're able to combat
money laundering
and other forms of crime. I'm hoping that it is on his list. Yeah, as one of the things. Even if he comes back empty-handed, which is likely to be the case, because America has no money to dish out.
Yeah.
It's not like they have nothing. They have, they live on credit.
Yeah. Now, when you look at this conversation about dirty money and being grey-listed, what specific vulnerabilities have you seen in Kenya's financial structure that has led us to the inclusion of this list, apart from regulatory issues?
When you are listed, it's a bad warning. Investor confidence. And there are many of these private sector entities which would not want to operate such an environment. An environment that has a weak regulatory framework, because they know that it's a chaotic market. It's a market that is not stable. It's a market that you cannot trust. And private sector invests in countries which are stable politically and financially. Remember, Kenya is the financial hub for East and Central Africa. So if we are affected because of grey listing, it is not just going to affect Kenya's trade, it is going to affect East and Central Africa. Because people making entry into East and Central Africa, they look at Kenya. Is Kenya stable?
Yeah.
Is the banking sector stable? Are the regulations okay? So Kenya is a mirror. So once we allow things to go the way they're going, we don't not only destroy the banking sector, the business sector for Kenya, but we destroy the entire region. So it is incumbent upon the Kenya Kwanza government to ensure that we are removed from this grey list as soon as possible.
Then I would want to know finally what can be done. What is a holistic approach that should be taken as soon as now so that we are removed from this list and we are never at it again?
You see, the regulations are there. Number one, follow the laid down regulations. Number two, take action, because based on the regulations you have, take action against those people who are breaking the regulations. Take action, because the people involved are known. The institutions involved are known. Why isn't there action being taken? I suspect that you cannot take action against your foot soldiers who are in parliament who are part of this wash. And I want to play this Matiangini. Okay? So you must protect them, because those are your surrogates. Those are your fellows.
I am suggesting, and it's a fact, that we will end up with up to 40% of holders of elective office being very well known and established wash dealers, and so on and so forth. Because those are the ones who are hiring crowds and hiring people from one end of the country to another end.
Then, of course, the operatives, the mafias that operate around the state machinery, again, you may not want to touch them. So if the president, because I've not heard him talk about this thing, grey list, I have not. Has he talked about it?
Not yet.
He hasn't talked about it. Haven't you people in the media industry asked yourselves, why has the president not talked about a very serious matter like this one? He's talking about other things that are irrelevant.
But what do you want from the president? When he speaks, you say leave
the president should know.
Speak about it.
The
when
president,
the CS speaks, you
this
say the
one
president
is
should
no.
speak.
This is a weighty matter.
Yeah.
When the whole country is listed, we should have heard his voice. We've only heard Juguna Ndungu write a small one-page thing.
He said he's confident with our economy.
Which you have been grey listed. Tell us. Or go and brief the president and say, this is the action we intend to take. Can you now communicate to the public?
You're giving the president a difficult task.
No,
when he's speaking, you say don't speak.
We are asking him to speak about weighty matters. And we are asking him to leave about these small secondary issues to the junior officers. But a weighty matter like being grey listed is weighty.
And he doesn't.
And I told you that it touches on the entire region. So it's weighty. He must talk about it. He must speak about it. But I said, do you expect my good friend to speak about it? when most of the watchwatch fellows are in parliament, and those are his surrogates, those are his boys. Do you expect the mafia in State House and the government operate to... I've only heard of one guy speaking on one page. I read that statement, it said nothing.
Let's wind up this conversation, a conversation about prominence and embarrassment. Philip Kisia, we're winding up. President is going to the US for a state visit. We are grey listed when it comes to, our flow of money here in the country, dirty money, terrorism. This country now is shaming ourselves. We're shaming ourselves. What is your message to Kenyans now thinking, what should we hope for from the president moving forward?
Well, I'm sad to say that from his own statement about the US trip, other than the excitement he has shown, at least the Americans have said this is the agenda for the meeting. I have not heard a counter from the Kenya government, Kenya Kwanza government, saying that this is our agenda for this particular trip. The Americans have already said people to people, investment, and of course they have not told you, they are just garnishing the agenda. They have not told you they are coming for minerals, they are coming to supply us with military equipment, they are coming to do business so that whatever little foreign exchange you are making goes back to the US. That they have not said. But anyway, I mean, that is the government we have. Yeah. It is up to us. But there's something that struck me this week, even as we are talking about the excitement of President William Ruto making a state visit, one of his kind in the 20 years. There's something, again, that I've not heard about the Kenya government speak about. African Development Bank. Even media, people didn't pick it up. I'm shocked. You guys, when I say you're my friends but you're lazy, you take me, you take me out of context. I'm your friend. I'm just saying you're lazy. Yes. That was a weighty statement. It mentioned that if we are not careful, we are going to have unrest as a result of food shortages and the price attendant to food and fuel. They have mentioned a few countries. Kenya is one of them. Nigeria is one of them. Ethiopia is one of them. They have already sent a warning shot saying that these countries are likely to face unrest. Yeah. So when my president moves around with a lot of confidence, and a serious bank like African Development Bank has already sent a warning shot, I mean, it's something to worry about. But, the man is living in utopia. Now that he has a handshake with the former Prime Minister, my party leader, now he's sitting so pretty. But as I said in the previous interview, Raila out, you have to contend with 53 million Kenyans who are angry, hungry, they have nothing to lose. 53 million Kenyans who are angry, hungry, and they have nothing to lose. That is the closing remark from Philip Kisia. Says it as he sees it. If it's a spade, he calls it a spade. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a lovely day ahead and a great weekend. Bye for now.